Good morning or good afternoon. Today we'll be recording a video on Quizzette 812. Please write your last name, comma, first name, today's date, and your class color. Today I'll say I'm green. I believe today is the 4th. All right, number 1 says, find the slope of the line. Sorry, that could have been a better circle. Find the slope of the line that passes through 4, 7, and 1, and 3. So when we label points, they're X and then Y. When we're trying to find the slope, and it gives you 2 points, you would write X1, Y1, and then your next point would be X2, Y2. That number is just called like a subscript. So it really doesn't require you to do any math with that little number. So like the X1, the Y1, the X2, the Y2, that's just labeling. Like that's your first X, that's your second X, that's your first Y, that's your second Y. Now the formula for the slope is often represented by the letter M. And that's why I write M right there. I'm trying to find the slope. M equals, here's the formula, Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. If you solve this, that tells you what your slope is. Now we're going to substitute the point values inside the formula. So we have M, which means slope, equals Y2, which is 3, minus Y1, and Y1 is 7, all over X2, and X2 is 1, minus X1, which is 4. Positive and negative values, the properties of integers, apply to everything from now on in math that you ever see. So 3 minus 7 is technically, it needs to be changed. Subtraction needs to be changed to addition of the opposite. So this is addition of the opposite. So instead of 3 minus 7, we have 3 plus negative 7. They have different signs, so you subtract them. Keep the sign of the bigger number, and then you're exact. So 7 minus 3 is 4. The bigger sign is negative, so that's why it's negative 4. Another way you could have did this is you could just look. 3 minus 7, okay, clearly they're in a difference of 4. The bigger number is going to be negative, so it's negative 4. The bottom is 1 minus 4, so that's going to be negative 3. Now, if you notice, you have a negative on the top and a negative on the bottom. When you have an even amount of negatives and you're dividing or multiplying, in this case, the fraction bar does mean division. You know that 2 negatives make a positive. So this would be negative 4 divided by negative 3 is technically 4 divided by 3, or 4/3. So the slope of the line that passes through 4, 7, and 1, and 3 is 4/3. So you just have to write the formula each day, label your points each day, solve, and then box your answer. So this is what I want to see every day. Every day I want to see what I'm about to highlight. Every day I want to see the slope. I'm just going to highlight it so that you guys remember that I want to see the slope formula, and I want you to label your points. I want you to label your points. You don't have to highlight it. I just want you to know I want the slope formula, the points, and then your answer has to obviously be boxed. Okay? Moving on to number 2. Number 2 says, find the slope. I'm going to zoom it in so we could see a better view of this. So it already gave you the 2 perfect points. I just have to see how many units I have to go up or down, left and right, to get to the other point. So I'm going to start from point A, and I'm going to see how many units I have to shift to get to point B. So I noticed that I could either go right 3, or I can go down 1. I'm going to actually go down 1, and remember when you go in the down direction, it's negative 1. And then you're going to go over, that's in the positive direction, 3. Another way you can do this is you can do the inverse. You can go this way. So I went over positive 3, and then I went down 1. So it doesn't matter what direction you go, you're going to go over 3, down negative 1. Now, if you remember, slope is y over x, rise over run, rise, or the y-axis, is either up or down. X is on the x-axis, which is either right or left, depending on if you go positive or negative. So you have to find the slope, and you have to put it in this form. M, and M represents slope. So I went down 1, negative 1, and I went over positive 3. So a way to make this cleaner would be M is equal to negative 1/3. That's my slope. Number 3 has to do with unit rates, which is like a review of ratios and proportions. If you've been following along on the IXL exercises on your own time, the first IXL question, or the first question, is actually a 6th grade standard, and the next question is actually an 8th grade standard. Let's read the first one. Tessa walked a total of 12 kilometers by making 4 trips to school. So 12 kilometers by making 4 trips to school. After 5 trips to school, how many kilometers will Tessa have walked in total? So it says solve by using unit rates. And unit rates is just solving for 1. So you would take your first ratio and figure out how many kilometers Tessa walks per trip. Or you could just divide the numerator by the denominator. And if you solve that, it's going to be 3 kilometers per trip for every 1 trip. So if she takes 5 trips, it's like you multiply that by 5. And 3 times 5 is 15 kilometers. So you found the missing piece right there. 15 kilometers. You can also use this by doing mental math, or you can use proportions. So our first proportion was 12 over 4, 12 kilometers in 4 trips. The next one, we're trying to find 5 trips, but we don't know what this... Okay, so you could also solve this using proportions. So my first rate, or my first ratio, remember I taught you how to rate ratios, is 12 to 4. 12 kilometers to 4 trips for school. Then the next ratio, they don't give you the kilometers because that's what we're trying to find, but they give you the trips, right? So I set up my first ratio. Make sure you're paying attention if you don't get it. I set up my first ratio. It's right here on the red arrow, 12 to 4. My next ratio, they didn't give me the kilometers. They just gave me the trips. So that's why I put a variable over the trips. Now I'm going to use it solving proportions by proportions. Cross multiply. 5 times 12 is 60. 4 times y is just 4y. I want to get y by itself, so I divide both sides by 4. That's just 1 whole. I have y left over. 4 goes into 60 15 times. So the missing rate is this 15 kilometers. And that's what we found also right here, 15. Now the next question is probably going to be easy for all of you. You're probably going to be able to do it using mental math. So if you listen to 11 songs in 33 minutes, how many minutes are you using per song? What you would do is you would divide 33 by 11, and you would find that that's 3 minutes per song. When you're finding unit rates, it's just division. So 3 minutes per song. If you have any questions, raise your hand. You can also use your math notes for this Quizzette. Thank you.